Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by AnglersChoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio. Alright folks, welcome to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio. This is Season 2, and we're starting into the school season, and the weather's changing. And on the line today I have Jason Barnucz, and he is a Fisheries and Oceans biologist, and he's also one of the officials at the upcoming Berkley B1 tournament in Quebec, and he's part of the conservation of the live release of all the fish. Jason, welcome to the show.
Well, Dan, thanks for the invite. I'm glad we're finally able to hook up. My calendar keeps me pretty busy during the ice-free months. I'm talking to you right now from the banks of the Grand River near Brantford, where I can get some peace and quiet and have a nice conversation with you.
You're not fishing, are you?
No, I'm not fishing today. I'm actually, I thought maybe to get some peace and quiet to give you a call, I'll just pull off to the side of the road. And I thought, I'm pretty close to the Grand, and it's on my way home from, I work in Burlington. I live down in Norfolk County, so it's kind of on my way. And it's a nice, peaceful spot here on the Grand River tonight. Perfect.
That is a nice stretch of river, also down that way, for sure.
I'll try not to be too distracted.
So, we have the BK. We have the Berkley B1 tournament coming up in 2 weeks' time. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, the Berkley B1, I've never participated in it, but it's I know a lot of it, and a lot of both colleagues of mine and yours are probably going to be fishing in that event. It's probably one of the more prestigious bass tournaments now in Canada, and this event's going to be held in 2 weeks' time on the waters of Lake St. Francis, which basically is a part of the St. Lawrence River that extends from Cornwall east towards Montreal. And man, it's going to be a prime time for smallmouth, and I expect some big bags to come in. And you're going to see some, for a lot of your listeners in Ontario, a lot of these sort of mid 20s to high 20-pound bags coming in from some quality Ontario/Quebec smallmouth bass. And it's a big tournament. I can't remember how many teams are going to be there, but likely over 100 teams. And I'm going to be, instead of fishing it this year, I'm going to be one of the officials. Ben Wu, who's organizing the Berkley B1, he's the organizer of the event. Him and I are on the same Pure Fishing pro staff, and he approached me to maybe provide some guidance and help out with the live release portion of that event. So I'm looking forward to checking out this event, and actually we just arranged to have a lot of the Quebec provincial staff attend this event. They're talking about doing some tagging of the fish, doing some sampling of the fish for different things. So, all of a sudden this job that was going to be kind of small has gotten pretty big, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Awesome. Now, in the B1 Berkley, that's Canada's premier tournament. Am I correct in saying that?
Oh, absolutely. It's probably, if not it's one of the most prestigious events going on right now in bass fishing. There's a couple other events in Ontario that are pretty popular, like the Bass Pro Shops Open and even the Canadian Open. But I think this event, just the hype around it is pretty amazing. Even some of the media that's being released, some of the press releases, and there's even commercials for this event going on too. So it's really growing in leaps and bounds. I'm pretty proud to be part of it this year.
Well, and the one thing that Canada has that the Americans have is we have a shorter bass season. However, we have some big bass here in Canada.
Yeah, a lot of the bass in Ontario, the waters that we're familiar with, we have some of the best bass fishing going, and part of that is because of the shorter season. They don't have as much pressure on them as other water bodies to the south. And our bass are very long-lived, and a lot of water bodies, they find a way to live a long time and grow really big, and especially our smallmouth fisheries in Ontario rival anywhere else in North America where smallmouth bass are found. Something to be proud of.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, going back to the Fisheries and Oceans Canada, what is your main responsibility?
Well, my main job is I'm a research biologist. That's my forte. So I conduct research on water bodies across Ontario, mostly in the lower Great Lakes, so Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. A lot of the river systems, and I study in a little bit of work on invasive species such as round goby, but I also do a lot of work with endangered and threatened species. Under the Federal Species at Risk Act, we conduct research on those species. But what's really cool, Ben, about my work is my focus is fish communities. So I go out looking for a certain species. I'm actually looking at all the species that are found, in all the sites that I visit, to the point where I teach fish identification at the Royal Ontario Museum for other biologists and technicians so they can learn to identify species. And just to give you an understanding, I'm standing here on the bank of the Grand, and there's over 70 species of fish found in the Grand, and so far at my feet I've probably seen a dozen swim past me, and a lot of people might just call them minnows or chub, but there's many, many, many unique species in Ontario.
Yeah, and the Grand, named rightly so because of the diversity of the species that abound in the watershed.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of the big watersheds in Ontario, like the Grand, the Nottawasaga, the Saugeen River, they're such huge watersheds. They cover such huge areas. You have brook trout in the headwaters and channel catfish at the bottom. And I'm not knocking channel cats, I love catching them. But, there's such diversity of species across that spectrum from the headwaters all the way down to where they meet the lakes that we're pretty special in Ontario to have access to a lot of these fisheries.
Absolutely, 100%. So, what got you into your field of work that you're in now?
Well, it's kind of it's probably a story a lot of guys have heard before. I grew up in rural southern Ontario in Norfolk County, little farm between the towns of Simcoe and Delhi. And I spent a lot of my time fishing pitch and quarries and farm ponds. I always loved fishing. And as I went through high school and into college and university, I always worked with aquatics. I never probably thought I'd ever be a biologist, but I always wanted to work on the water. And, now I'm very lucky. I get to spend 120, 130 days on the water every year, but maybe only 30 of those days I actually have a rod and reel in hand because my job's very busy these days, and so I'm the perpetual fishing bridesmaid. I get to spend all this time on the water learning lots about fish, not too often with a rod and reel in my hand, but I do enjoy my job, though, for sure.
Absolutely. So, anybody that we know or I know that's going to be fishing the B1?
Oh, you know what?
Offhand?
I haven't seen the field of participants yet, but I think you're going to see some smallmouth fanatics out there. I'm sure you'll probably see Reno Viola hanging out in Valleyfield, Quebec. And I'm sure you're going to see, I've heard of guys like, I know Jack Summers from Radio World's going to be out there.
Yep.
And I'm sure some of my friends like Charles Sims and Dave Chong, and I'm sure a lot of the big names in Ontario you're going to see. And it's actually going to be kind of cool. We're going to meet a lot of the guys, big names in Quebec that I've never met that will fish this event too. So I'm looking forward to going. It's going to be a real eye-opener for me.
Do you know what the grand prize is or any of the purses?
Well, I don't know just yet. Actually, this will come about pretty quick. I know that last year there was talk of boats for first place prize, and I think it might have been last year, year before the tournament was postponed. The day 2 was canceled because of weather. So it's really up in the air with what's going on right now. But I think the field's going to be full, and I'm not sure what the prize structure is just yet. But I'll be finding out shortly now that I'm right involved with this tournament. I guess my focus has really just been on working with some of the provincial biologists and ironing out how we're going to take care of our fish. And that's always my first priority.
And growing up in Canada, I have to say, it's good to know that there's people such as yourself out there, other people I know that are in the same field. Lori Knight, she's also a biologist and I guess works with the Grand River Conservation Authority. And it just when there's people that take pride in their work and turn their work into a passion for a better fishery tomorrow, it just does my heart good to know that there's people such as yourself out there.
Well, you know what, you really hit a home run there, because I really think that what helps me do my job is having a passion for the resource. And, I could tell a lot of stories. Like, for instance, right now with my job, I'm so busy on the water all the time, I don't get to fish as much as I used to. I have 2 small kids at home that I want to share fishing with them, and I spend a lot of time fishing with my son these days. He's 5. And, so I don't fish competitively as much as I used to, and I think that's, I have an interest there. But for me, the big picture is I want to make sure that my friends and my peers appreciate the fishery that we have in Ontario. And I do love bass fishing, but I love steelheading. I love ice fishing. If someone calls me tomorrow and said I want to go muskie fishing, I'm going to go with that person if I have the day off. So I want to experience it all. Yeah. I can't say that there's one species I prefer more than anything else, but definitely right now, at this point in my life, bass tournaments is my passion. But you know what? It's the passion I have every day on my job that carries me through to my fishing, and then I hope that carries through to my peers and my colleagues that I, in various capacities that I have outside of work. I'm a peer fishing ambassador. I do a lot of work with Berkley and Abu Garcia, a lot of the trade shows, and I also do work with Ontario Bass Nation. I'm the provincial conservation director for them. I'm president of the Hamilton Bass Masters. But all of that is all about me sharing and enjoying the resource and making sure my friends enjoy the resource too. Exactly.
I couldn't agree with you more. Well, Jason, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Hope to see you at the trade shows this coming spring. It's going to be a ways away. But, folks, 2 weeks' time in Quebec. What city again?
Valleyfield, Quebec.
Valleyfield, Quebec. The Berkley B1 bass tournament, one of Canada's prestigious, most sought-after tournament. Now, is there a qualifier for this?
No, it's run as an open event. So there's no qualifier for it. But, you never know what might happen down the road. If this event continues to grow like it is, you might see more qualifying events for it.
Perfect. Well, Jay, thanks again. It's been a pleasure to have you. And, folks, drop Jason a line if you have any questions concerning fish or biology or anything like that. And, Jay, if you have any plugs, now's your time. Any Canadian plugs you'd like to give?
I do a lot of what I do without the support of my family, for number one, and my wife Heather and my kids Trevor and Stephanie. And but you know what? A lot of the support I get from my sponsors. I'm a bit of a, I'm not a big tournament guy. I do fish tournaments, but I like to just, like I said, I like to share the resource and let everyone experience the resource. So without my help from Berkley and Abu Garcia and Pfluger and other companies that support me, I couldn't get very far. And actually, I'll throw one more quick plug out there. If you get a chance, there's a small Canadian website developed that's getting big called myfishpattern.com.
Yep.
And, if you're into record keeping and you want a slick way to keep track of your fishing records when you're on the water and keeping track of your data, I manage fisheries data for a living.
Yeah.
Myfishpattern.com is a pretty slick way to do that. I've been using it pretty heavily the last year and a half. And Steve Agius is the owner and designer there, and he's done some cool things. So check that website out if you guys are into managing your data better on the water.
Well, it's funny that you should mention Steve, because I have him in my sights to talk about the Canadian-made myfishpatterns.com. And folks, it is a fantastic resource, not only for yourself, but to help other anglers as well. I want to somehow try and get us Canadian anglers to stop being so secretive about the goings-on of how we're catching our fish and share our information, because I know if I go to Alabama right now and fish with my nephew, the guy standing on the boat dock is going to tell me where to go, what to use, what color it is, how much weight, what line, and exactly where to fish. So, folks, if we're all about conservation and supporting the fishery, don't be afraid to share some of your secrets with each other. And myfishpatterns.com is one of the best ways to do it. Steve Agius, excellent program, absolutely. Jason, thank you very much for that.
No problem. Well, you make sure to say hi to Steve for me when you got him on the show.
I will.
That's great.
Take care.
Thanks, Pat. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, folks, if you like what you hear on Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio, be sure to drop us a line at benmcquinney@yahoo.com. All right, folks, welcome back. My next guest, we've grown to love him over the last 16 shows. My next guest is Rob Conley of Bassasins. And he's one part of the dynamic duo of Rob and Rob. How are you doing today?
Great, Ben. How are you?
Good. So, how's your summer been on the river so far?
It's been a great summer on the river. It kind of started out a little slow with the water levels being up and such, but once they dropped down to where they should be, we kicked it into high gear, and it's been a very, very busy summer. Sad to see it come to an end, but, with all things that come to an end, bigger things come. So.
Yep, that's right. Now, as we know, lakes, the water levels change as well, but because of the diverse structure of a river, fall transition in a river is different from a fall transition in a lake.
No, it's true. Definitely true. In the river, you find that you deal with water levels a little bit more than you will a lake. Where in a lake, you can kind of fish out until the ice comes, I guess. Where in rivers, it's one of those things where once the waters get to a certain level, it just a lot of them become unfishable. Especially here in Ottawa, we deal with that, where the Rideau system itself just at some point will flow too fast in order to get in and fish around.
So what steps or tips can you offer up for those of us, like I live on the Grand River watershed, and I have miles and miles of river. So what kind of tips or I guess not so much tips, but what kind of knowledge can you share with our listeners about fall transition and fishing on the rivers?
So the biggest thing is that what we find is there will be that day, and whether it's this week or next week or a couple weeks to come, there will be that day where the temperature kind of drops drastically, especially fishing smallmouth. The biggest change is that, they like the cooler temperatures, so we'll find that you'll have the water levels that stick at summer depths for a little while longer, but the temperatures themselves tend to change a lot. So what you go from is having to deal with the summer fishing where you're hitting spots and you have to work hard for those fish because smallies especially don't like the warmer water, and you have to work a little harder for them. So when you run to the cooler water, the fish are where you think they are. So all summer long you've been kind of fishing the areas, and you've been casting to boulders, and you've been working really slow, and then you'll still walk up on those fish, and you'll be like, oh, I missed a fish. I stumbled up on him, and he scooted off. Where in the fall, when the cold water starts to drop, they're where you think they are. So realistically, the bigger fish are the more aggressors. They realize that they need to put on the feed bag for fall, and you're going to hit the spots that you think the fish are, and the fish will be there. And it makes for some awesome fishing, and it makes for some aggressive runs because they have a lot of energy this time of year.
For sure. They're putting on the feed bag right now for listeners out there. What kind of presentations are you running? Like, are you running a bigger presentation now?
Yeah, I find that we run a little bigger. We run a little more aggressive. So before, we have to slow things down, maybe with the drop shot or your craws, and let them pause and do all those types of things. Now you can use those soft plastics and kind of run them a little bit more aggressively. Or this is where your spinners come in, and you can start to throw your cranks a little more again, because the fish themselves are just more aggressive. They're ready to hit, they're ready to eat, and they're ready to feed. So, you go from that soft presentation, and you can still use those techniques. Just speed them up a bit. Feel free to, throw them into those same spots and work them a little bit more aggressively, because the bigger fish will be the first hit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So there you go, folks. Anybody that's out there listening that's in the Rideau area or the Grand River area where I'm at, a larger presentation and just keep working those spots where the fish are. Now, humps and dips and dugouts, those are the kind of areas that you want to target the most for these aggressive fish, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you'll find big boulders and holes when weed beds hit weed beds, so you run into, like, there's a little bit of mat that'll hit a little bit of cane and a couple of rocks off the edge. Like, those are the areas you're targeting. It's the transition areas seem to be the ones that'll hold the fish themselves, like, and that goes year-round. But you'll find this time of year that, again, like I said, they're where you want them to be, and you'll cast where you want them to be, and they'll be there. Where in the summer you get that heartbreak of there should be a fish there. Why isn't there a fish there? And this time of year they're in those spots. Like, they're gonna sit out where you think they're gonna be, and they're gonna aggressively hit you when you can, and be ready. Those fall fish have a lot of spunk to them and a little bit more weight than you're used to in the summer. That's for sure.
Well, this is definitely my favorite time of year to get out and fish too. The afternoons are warmer, the mornings are much cooler, and the evenings are much cooler, but the afternoons do warm up, and you get your cloudy, sunny, bluebird skies, and you can actually, the waters, when it drops and whatnot, it actually clears up, and you can do some sight fishing if you have a good pair of polarized fishing glasses. And you can target those fish in those areas where they're hiding a lot easier this time of year, because the silt and everything's settled down, and when it's not raining.
Oh, of course.
Now, what do you do in a situation where it's rained for, I don't know, let's say 6 hours? Is it a write-off? You don't even bother going out to the river, or do you still make an attempt?
Like, short rainfall I find happen a lot in the fall, so that's something that, you'll go in and out of, like, little storms, I guess you would say. They're not necessarily a true storm, but you touched on the sight fishing aspect of it, and that's what we work. Like, a lot of the rivers themselves, we won't necessarily get in until we've walked along and kind of come across something that's caught our eye. A big, area down here that we fish, there's a couple of shelves, and so even after a storm, you can see when the water itself does churn up, it'll start to settle slightly, and you can get into, sight fishing those fish coming up the shelves and hitting fish off or hitting, bait fish or crayfish off the edge of the shelf themselves. And so it's just something you kind of attune to, and maybe that time of, day or whichever after the storm, you just start to be a little bit more selective on where you are hitting. But, don't be afraid after a storm to still get out. Like, a lot of people feel like, the water's churned up and it shouldn't necessarily be the same fishing, but that's the time to throw on the crank. I find personally a little bit more flash. The white spinner works well as to, just throw on something with a little bit more presence to it, I guess you would say. So get away from your soft plastics and throw on something with a little bit of flash. It'll, they're cranked up still the same. Like, storm or non-storm, after a storm, they still need to feed, and water turned up or not, they're still looking for something to bite. So
there you go. So, folks, don't be afraid when it rains. It's just little rain. The fish will still be there.
They don't melt.
They don't melt. That's right. And you might have to hunt a little more, but larger presentation and fish where you know those fish are going to be, and you will succeed. I have a spot here on the Grand, down by Bridgeport area of Kitchener-Waterloo, and there's a couple nice dugouts where the water's a little slack, but it's still moving, and you can see literally through the water. It's gin clear some days in this one area, and you can see just the image of their backs, and they're in this dugout, and they're hunkered down, and they're just waiting there for, like you said, a craw or some other insect or a small fish to make a mistake, and that's it. It's dinner time. What kind of baits do you primarily use this time of year?
So this time of year, we do find it, if we are fishing something like you just described, we have a couple here on the Rideau that are the same concept, where it's deeper holes, but you can, see the shadows moving around, or the footballs, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But, so when we're fishing that type of area, where we're technically kind of sight fishing in a sense that they're there, we like to drop shot a lot, because, crayfish in the summer, you can create that pause, drop, where with the drop shot itself specifically, you run a hammer shot or something along those lines, you're working the fish itself in the current, and you're allowing the weight to hit on bottom and bounce off. But again, the more aggressive fish are going to hit that presentation so a little bit off, because they're not necessarily looking for the crayfish in a slow presentation. They're looking for something more out in the current. So we like to hit those edges on the current and drop shot across them. We find if we're safe fishing, that's one of the best techniques in fall, because the fish themselves aren't looking down. They're looking for something that's right out there and ready to grab.
Awesome. So crayfish, soft plastics. I know that Angler's Choice makes a great crayfish pattern for bouncing off bottom, and also you guys are sponsored with Power Team Lures, and they also have a great crawdad imitation.
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. Hit those pockets. Throw the soft baits. The crayfish. One of my successes actually has been a leech pattern in the rivers early spring, but I've also this time of year have used the same pattern and have had success as well. Any
up here, the crayfish feeding up here is crazy on the Rideau. So for us, I can't necessarily say that the leech pattern itself has worked overly well for us. We like to stick to the crayfish if we are using that type of soft plastic. So, for us, we stick to the crayfish. However, the wacky rig itself, I guess, would replicate a leech in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
And that always has an area in your arsenal as well, too, that you can throw, especially if you have a lot of slack water. Guys think it's a boat, largemouth type lure, but realistically, on the rivers, if you hit the right system, where there is that slack water and you can allow the bait to sink down, a nice black, stick bait of any kind works with the wacky as well. So it would replicate the same concept. You just have to be really patient.
So you have a contest going on. Let's hear about it.
So we have a contest going on our Facebook page. It's as simple like our Facebook page, the Bassasins, of course, and then share the contest itself. First prize is some amazing fish rum gear, a shirt and a hat. We're giving away the stick baits called the Six Stick that I was just talking about by Power Team Lures.
Yep.
As our second prize, we're giving away a big kit of that. And then our third sponsors for this year is Kamikaze, and we're giving away a bunch of hooks that they've, been giving us for the the year that have worked fantastic. Their number one circle hook works amazingly with the wacky rig. So that, and then a couple of hats and a pair of sunglasses as well. So we're celebrating our 1 year officially on Facebook this week. So we're very pumped for that, and hopefully we can give away some stuff for our fans.
Awesome. There you go, folks. So get on the Bassasins Facebook page. And you also have a new feature that comes out every Friday, and it's the BFF. Tell us a little more about that.
So we get our fans that send us random photos here and there, and to share or not to share, they post them on our page. And so we didn't know what really to do with them, in the sense that we appreciate our fans sending in photos, and we see them, of course, but we wanted to kind of give a day to our fans. So we decided that Bassasins Fan Fridays, which BFF, of course, everyone wants to be our BFF. So we figured we would throw that in there. And so if you send us shots, whether it be through email or post it on our page, we'll give it a quick little tweak and toss it up there on Fridays. And that day is dedicated just to our fans. No random posts from us, no reports, no nothing. Just our fans. Bassasins Fan Fridays, be our BFF.
Awesome. All right. Any plugs you'd like to give?
Our amazing sponsors, of course, Milton Outdoors, Fish Bum Outfitters, Power Team Lures, and Kamikaze. It's been an amazing year so far, and we're pumped for the next one. So
awesome. And Rob Fox, sorry you missed the interview. We miss you, and we'll have the two of you back again. So.
After work, that's kind of how it is, I guess. But
yeah.
Of course, I wish he was sitting here beside me, but what can you do?
Yeah. And are you guys going to be hanging around the Berkley B1?
Obviously, we would love to. We work, of course, on weekends, so it's no fun to, be at work. But unfortunately, that we can't get any part of those things.
That's too bad. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, soon enough. Someday we'll be able to do this for real, I guess you would say, and we can, no pun intended, of course, and we'll be able to hang out at all those amazing events, and that would be awesome. Yeah,
excellent. Well, Rob, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for sharing your insight into fall patterns on the river, on the Rideau, as well as other river watersheds across Ontario. And folks, again, be sure to check out the Bassasins page on Facebook, and they're also on Twitter. And get your BFF picks ready for tomorrow. All right, take care, Rob.
Ben, always a pleasure.
Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by AnglersChoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio. All right, folks, welcome back to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio. My next guest is the owner and designer of MyFishPatterns.com, Steve Agius. How you doing, Steve?
I'm great, Ben. How are you?
Good. It's funny. I was just talking to Jason Barnucz, and we had mentioned your name, and I was like, yes, MyFishPatterns.com is a fabulous resource tool for anglers. Let's hear a little bit more about it.
Well, essentially what we've built, it's kind of a two-part system. The software, I look at it as kind of the meat and potatoes, and the app that we have for iPhone and Android is kind of the gravy on the side. So the app was really designed to collect your fish catch data super quick. The one thing I kept in mind is, and I told my developer, is if your line is not in the water, you're not going to catch fish. So we managed to let the user capture data in about 4 seconds or less, so they can get back to fishing. And when you're done fishing for the trip, then you can sync that trip over to the website, and that's kind of where the magic begins. And The software actually took about a year and a half to build, and what it does is it will look and find for any commonalities that are in your fish catches, and it will highlight it for you. From that, you can start a pattern wizard, go through your filter list, create a pattern, save it, and you can keep it on the website, which is secure, and you can shoot it back to your phone as well, so you actually always have it with you on the water.
Excellent, excellent. Now, this is totally taken us out of the paper log generation, because I have scads of paper logs, and in this program itself, it works almost on its own.
That's right. Yeah, we actually have a printout if you wish to capture data if you don't have a smartphone. But that was the whole point. Is kind of everything. You can look at it while you're having a coffee, or you're in your living room, or you're in your hotel room. It doesn't matter, because typically everyone now has their phone. Everyone's connected all the time.
Yeah, it's true. And with apps like Navionics, and it's all those little things that when pieced together, it works. The one thing that I found that I liked about myfishpatterns.com was you could backdate yourself to a situation in the present and pull up past information and put fish in the boat.
Yeah, that's right. What we gave the users is essentially a historical data, somewhere to keep their data, so they can almost pre-fish from your living room if you kind of know what the conditions are before you go on the lake. So it just helps with bait selection while you're at home, and makes things a little quicker, hopefully, and get you on your spot quicker as well.
Now, you have, it's a unilateral program. It's all over the world. People can log on to myfishpatterns.com and build their own profile for any species of fish, correct?
At this point, we are open to North America, so we got Canada and the United States covered. There's a lot of stuff in the background, actually, that people don't see. So that's why we kept it to more of the freshwater species for now, because there's a lot of built-in algorithms in the background that are species specific.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we don't have a list of 3,000 species on there. It's kind of going with popular now, and then eventually we'd like to get into saltwater.
Perfect. That will definitely open up more doors for you too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, saltwater it's huge.
Now, myfishpatterns.com is it's a free program, but the app it's a it's a paid app, right?
No, everything is free.
Everything's free. There you go, folks. So log on to myfishpatterns.com and start building your own fish patterns that you can. And not to get off my train of thought here, but these patterns, other people can see, and you can share what's worked for you in the past, correct?
The users actually were probably, I think, one of the only websites doing it. Is the users can actually sell their patterns.
Okay.
So there's a revenue split between the website and the users. So, for argument's sake, if you're an avid bass angler and you start catching pike, the cool thing about the software is it's not prejudiced. So all you have to do is switch over in the app. If you caught a pike, just switch your species over, collect the data, and you can always set it back to bass after. So you can actually build a pike pattern, a perch pattern, a walleye pattern, even if you're not really targeting those, and you can sell them if you wish to generate some revenue. If not, everything is 100% secure and private, so nobody can see anything.
Okay. But you can peruse the what's for sale patterns and see those patterns and read them before you buy them?
You can. It'll give you details on what's included in the pattern. So there'll be water temperature, current, the bait, the depth you're selecting. You'll know that's included in the pattern. You just won't see the details of it until you make the purchase.
Okay. All right. Now, anything new that's happened? Like, your program's been, it's 3 years old almost now, isn't it?
It's been live for almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. Okay.
Almost 2 years. So it took about a year and a half to build it, and then we went live for almost 2 years now. So, yeah, we're always, the fun thing about software is it never ends. So, we're always looking to make improvements based on feedback from our customers and just to kind of keep in line with what's trending. Mm-hmm. And that's about it. Just give the best experience we can and make it as quick as we can for the user so they come back to and use the program again. Yeah,
absolutely. Any sponsors or anybody you'd like to give a plug to?
Well, I got to thank my man Jason Barnucz because he's been awesome on the site. He gives a lot of feedback, and it's mostly the pros that are on the site. Just sign up our new guy in Missouri. He's a guide for Lake of the Ozarks. So
awesome.
Yeah, we got some guys way up north as well. So if you're ever fishing for walleye, got a few guys up there that give some patterns away for nothing. So it's and a lot of them include GPS coordinates as well.
Well, and that's the other thing I was saying to Jason is, and off air as well with my other guest Robert Conley from Bassasins, is we are such a tight-lipped community of Canadian anglers that we don't like to share our patterns. And you've taken that to the extreme and built software for that exact purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, I thought about that, when we built it, and I told all the guys on the site and even to other users out there, if you're a hardcore bass angler or walleye angler, I would never expect you to sell your top producing pattern.
Yeah.
But the majority of people that are signing up on the site are novice. Mm-hmm. So they're looking, they'll have more fun catching 1 to 2 pound bass all day than look for 5-6 pounders.
Yeah. And
I'm telling the guys, just put out some patterns that are producing a bunch of fish. They don't need to be the best quality, but the novice guy's out there, he's learning what to do.
Yeah.
And he's catching a bunch of fish in the meantime.
Exactly. And that's the name of the game.
Yeah, but, and they'll come back and they'll start to post patterns for other users, so it's kind of win-win for everybody.
So, other than eventually moving into saltwater, it's a free program for people to get involved with. And what got you involved in this? Like, how did you come by this idea?
Well, actually, I got back into fishing a few years ago. I did it when I was a kid, and then I kind of got out of it for a long time. And I walked into the big box store, and I was kind of overwhelmed on what to pick and what to use. And I joined Mississauga Bassmasters and learned a whole bunch from those guys. I'm still with the club. And I was just kind of did some research to see what was out there that can actually help people create patterns. And I didn't see anything really that kind of fit my needs. So I put my nose to the table and did a bunch of documentation and gave it to my software developer who actually likes to fish, which is a big bonus. And I said, can it be done? He said, absolutely.
Perfect. Any upcoming events for yourself?
Not at this moment. We're just I'm just doing some tournaments with the club, and like I said, I got a few things up my sleeve that I'd like to add to the software. So it's more or less trying to get a hold of some other people and trying to form a partnership, and it's kind of pretty cool. It's cool what I want to do. It can be done. It's just a matter of getting a team together to pull it off. So
perfect. Well, thank you very much, Steve. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show and talking about this great Canadian software program that you've put together, myfishpatterns.com. And folks, I can't tell you enough how viable it is, and what a great resource it is. And being in the technological age that we are, that we have our smartphones on board with us, that we can have this this program at our fingertips, literally. So, Steve, thank you very much again. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Ben, and hopefully everyone signs up. The only cost to you is your time.
There you go. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio is brought to you by AnglersChoice.ca, the Angler's Choice in handmade soft plastics. Also presented to you by Handlebars Musky Lures, Zing the Bling, Frantic Big Game Baits, Keith's Trophy Fishing, Fish NV Guide Service, and Husky Musky Leaders. You're listening to Ben McQuinney Outdoor Radio.